Ah, my hammies. Ach du Scheiße. Back pain for field and court sport athletes. One of the most common issues that I see, especially in adolescent athletes between 12 and 19, is back pain in the lower back region, especially on the left side where it either feels like a pulling pain or a stabbing pain, but it tends to hang out there for 1 to 2 days after a very intense training session or competition, or maybe there was a whole lot of volume, we did a ton of reps, and it's not just muscle soreness, it's a different kind of pain. And it tends to be very general, and it tends to kind of hang out there as well. So if you play a match on Sunday and the pain kind of kicks up during that time, it's probably going to not get better as soon as you stop. It might be relieved slightly, but it's probably going to hang out on Monday and Tuesday as well. You're going to feel it. It doesn't go away with just like massage or ibuprofen or your pistol or black roll or physical therapy. There's something else. Like, why is it so naggy? Why is it so stubborn and difficult to get rid of? The reason why is that we are not allowed to under-exaggerate how important the hip complex is. So our back muscles are attached to our pelvis, which are attached to many other muscles, right? And so this is like a whole complex, a pelvic complex, a matrix of things that we need to take a look at to see if there's any issues there that might be the reason why we feel it in our backs. Most likely, it's one of two things. A complete lack of hip internal rotation or simply not enough, especially if you're in a sport that requires you to be fast, sprinting a lot, or very springy, jumping a lot, especially very reactive. If you're missing hip internal rotation, you're probably not springy enough or fast enough. And when you try and hit that top speed or the max number of jumps or give your maximal effort on a jump, you're likely going to feel it in your back. This is especially the case in football where ball contact with the inside of the foot, so we're naturally externally rotated, especially more on one side. It can also be the case that your hamstrings are just not strong enough. And again, this is the reason why in adolescence this is so common, because we lose some flexibility, we lose coordination, but also we're growing so fast that the musculature can't keep up with flexibility, it can't keep up with strength, it can't keep up with power. We need to strengthen that, because if the hamstrings are taut and the back is tight, it's pulling the pelvis up behind us, and the hamstrings are then in an elongated position where they're not strong and they're super prone to injury. And then what happens is the hamstrings get the feeling, oh no, an injury could be coming because I'm in this elongated position permanently, so they try and pull together to protect us. Where the back's also trying to tighten to protect you, the hamstrings are trying to tighten to protect you, and you're just not going to be having a good time. I've been dealing with this very often for the last few years, especially here in the academy, but also with some of my adult athletes and collegiate players and people in that age range. The good thing is there is a solution, you just have to work hard and long for it. There's 4 phases that I'm going to show you right now, and if you go through it a couple of days in each phase, it could possibly be that you need a week in each phase, but I doubt it. A couple of days in each phase until you get to feeling better, and then take components of those phases and keep them in your program regularly when you have the feeling that they definitely helped you, because internal rotation and hamstring strength, glute strength, back strength are all things we need to do repetitively and continuously in order to improve, in order to stay healthy. And this is an injury risk. This back pain is not necessarily an injury, like nothing happened. It's just an overcompensation, most likely, where we're feeling pain over a long time. So let's try and get you out of pain. Here we go. Okay, phase 1, the first thing we want to do is worry about our hip internal rotation. We're going to work on getting the hips free, getting them to move by themselves, getting each leg to move independently, and working on lengthening the hamstring. So let's dive in with the most simple in the world, the 90-90 stretch. You're likely going to want to lean back on this one at first. That's going to take some of the stress off your hips. It's going to take some of the stress off your back. As soon as you've mastered that, we're going into an upright position, no hands anymore. Cool. Once we've mastered the 90-90, once we're not in any pain doing that stretch, which it shouldn't be painful, we're going to find the 90-90 position. You're going to pick a side, and then you're going to 5 times lean over that side with your upper body as upright and straight as possible. So again, here, and then we're coming right back up out of it. We're going just as far as we can, coming right back up out of it. As soon as that becomes easy, we're gonna try and do a little neurological trick, pushing our knees into the ground as hard as we can, really brace and push into the ground as much as you can. Again, this shouldn't be painful, and try not to push like this, but really push upright with dignity, 10 to 15 seconds. The next exercise we're going for is the single leg lying dynamic hamstring. So hands behind the ham with toes going towards my forehead. I'm going to straighten my leg as far as I can, 10 times, and my other leg is just passively laying on the ground. You can lay it completely flat. You can lay it so. It really doesn't matter, whichever one is least painful. And of course, obviously, we're doing the other side. Quadruped hip cars, we're bringing the knee up, we're bringing it out, and we're doing a circle. You can straighten your leg if you want to. It doesn't really matter. We're going out and back around to the side and back to try and completely open that hip up. We need the rotation in the hip socket. Last exercise for phase one, but definitely one of my favorites. This one comes straight from PRI or Connor Harris's playbook. We're going to put foot on the wall. Other one is straight up in the air. Again, my toe is going to be facing my forehead. This elongates the hamstring into its longest position. If that's super painful, you can point the toe, whatever. We just want to get into this position. And at the end of the day, once you pass phase one, we want this toe to be pointing towards us. We're going to slightly lift the pelvis off the ground. Not super high, we're not going into a glute bridge position. We just want to feel it. We want to feel our abs, we want to feel our back, and we want to have the feeling that we could move our pelvis if we wanted to. Okay, in this position, I'm going to reach towards my toe. My head's not coming off the ground. I'm going to relax. Easiest in the world. If nothing else works, feet about a shoulder width apart. You're going to lay down and you're going to let your knees fall into the center. Once that's easy, widen them up, let knees fall into the center. Widen them up, let knees fall into the center. And just let them chill out there for a couple of seconds. What we're aiming for in this phase is to get you out of pain, to gain a little bit more movement. And then in the next two phases, we're going to work more on strength and flexibility and power through those phases. But right now we're just trying to get out of pain. We're trying to get the pelvis to move a little bit better, a little bit easier, and hip internal rotation also unlocked. Okay, party people, we're on to phase two. That means we're gonna go into a little bit more active hamstring work and active back work. So first one we're gonna do is hook lying hamstring. You're gonna need a light raise. This is a little bit high. Okay, so I want both feet flat. My back is flat on the ground at the moment, and then I am lightly lifting my hips off the ground and actively pulling my heels to my butt, okay? I'm not just sitting here and pulling my heels to my butt. I'm slightly lifting off the ground. I have a neutral hip position, and I am pulling my heels ever so lightly to my butt. And I'm gonna breathe here for a second. Oh, my hammies. Ach du Scheiße. Next one, dead bugs. You're gonna need a ball or a foam roll, but I love the ball for this one specifically. There's so many dead bug variations, but we're gonna stick specifically to the squeeze because it's the easiest proprioceptively or feeling wise. We're going hands above our heads. This is dead bug position. And here we wanna punch that lower back into the ground and hold. Actively pressing that lower back into the ground as if my belly button, or I'm pushing it down into my spinal cord the whole time. I'm gonna feel those abs light up. And as soon as you've managed that, as soon as this position is not uncomfortable, we're adding a ball or we're adding a foam roll or yoga block, whatever. Again, going into my position, low back is onto the ground, and I'm gonna gently push against the ball. And I'm feeling everything light up, everything. My feet aren't in this position, my feet aren't in this position, my feet are in this position, and I'm just driving lightly my knees and my arms while driving that low back into the ground. 10 to 15 seconds, then relaxing, and then you can go for it again if you're so inclined. Next one, the sprint position hold. Now I'm going to lay down into sprinter pose and actually use the ground to help me get into internal rotation. Right now we're gonna do this unweighted, but you can use weight if you want to. My legs are in sprint position. I'm actually gonna use this arm. This would be sprinter position, but I'm gonna use this arm to help me roll at first. So I'm gonna push my arm this way, roll into this position, bring my elbow back, and get me back out of it. When I'm here, my hip is naturally in internal rotation because I can't go anywhere against the ground. So it's helping me out. Once I'm very ambitious, I'm gonna take a weight, go back into that sprinter position, hold it above my head, and I'm not letting it droop. I'm actively pressing against it with my shoulder, but I'm not punching the ceiling. And now I'm gonna use my knee to help me out here. Breathing each time. I'm feeling those abs light up, my side abs, my obliques, my hamstrings as well, even my quads, because all of that works together in the pelvic complex. We can never treat back pain by itself. So congratulations, we're now in phase 3. We only have 2 more exercises to go here on the mat, and then we're already going into a stand-up position. First with 2 legs and then with 1 leg. So the first one, for a more advanced dead bug, we're going to need a band of some kind. we're attaching it to something behind us, and then we're going to actively hold against it. I'm just holding, I'm not pulling with all my might, I'm just holding against it. Going into the 90-degree position, actively holding those arms. Now my low back is against the ground. And not only am I just holding, but if you're brave enough, and if it feels okay, we can go into extension. Go ahead and extend that leg down. It's also helpful if you have a foam roll underneath you. You don't need to go all the way down to the ground, only to about right here. Next one, let's flip it over. I'm in plank position and I want to separate how my hips move from the rest of my body. I want to isolate that position. So we can go a little bit wider if you want, or we're going to rotate the pelvis up and rotate the pelvis down. It definitely looks like twerking in the air, but we have to learn how to control that pelvis. We have to. Once you've gotten good at that, doing it with both sides, focus on pulling up with the left side of your back and then pushing down, and then pulling up with the right side of your back and pushing down. We really want to be able to isolate that movement. We need both sides to work together and separately. Congrats guys, we've made it now into the standing part of phase 3, so we're almost done. Here, you just need a small plate or something you can put under your feet. We're gonna need 2 of them at the end of the day because we're gonna do something for heels, but let's start with the hamstring. The toe of our foot on top of the plate, slightly more forward is our other foot, and now we're going to go into a deadlift position. So my upper body is gonna stay about straight. I can go slightly into my knees here as I'm pulling up, touch the ground, and back up. Shooting the hips straight back and pulling them right back in. Really forcing the glute to help me through extension. Switching sides. Again, other foot slightly forward. Switching hands. That's definitely more difficult on that side because left side is always more challenging for the most part. Again, shooting the hips straight back, resisting the urge to go left or right. And they're pulling right under you again. This time, we need 2 plates. We're going to a squat position, just elevating the heels, not the whole foot. We don't want to stand on top of it. We just want the heels raised slightly. You can do this with or without weight. I do it in goblet squat position. And here we are controlling on the way down and driving right back up. Not focusing on driving the knees out, just. So congrats, we've made it all the way to phase 4. We're going now into actual single leg positions. We can do curtsy squats now, we can do lateral lunges now, we can do split squats now. We want to do all of those things, but specifically we want to do single leg deadlifts because we want to keep this hamstring individually, but also together as strong as possible. So in phase 3, you're probably already deadlifting, maybe with a kettlebell, maybe with a bar, maybe with dumbbells, but you should be definitely doing that as of this stage. But we also want to do single legs. So here we are. Keep them strong. Strong together, strong separately, strong individually. Otherwise, you're still going to have asymmetry. So we got to strengthen both sides. You want to use the same weight, the same number of reps, continue to improve strength. Each phase can last 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, 2 weeks. It's completely up to the individual athlete, how they're doing, how they feel, but the phases can go as slow or as fast as they need to be, meaning they go until we see progress and then we can move on.